We now welcome in a man who I think is the greatest college football coach of all time and should be the all-time winningest coach in college football history. He is the one and only Bobby Bowden. Coach, how are you?
Mike, doing fine. Of course, all the information the last couple of days has been the big thing. But I was just thinking, when a bad guy goes down, it makes you happy.
Mm-hmm.
When a good guy goes down, it's sad. But not as sad as those kids that were molested.
Bobby, I'm a big college football fan, as you know, and obviously you're a legend in college football. I'm calling yesterday the saddest day I can ever remember in college football.
I agree with you. And, of course, I had a personal interest in it because of my relationship with Joe. I can't think of a sadder day than yesterday in regard to college football.
Bobby, everybody has respected Joe Paterno throughout his career, and you obviously have been friends with him. I got to ask you this. Have you lost any respect for Joe? My background says to forgive. And, if he did it over and over and over, I'd lose complete respect. But he went 60 years impeccable. And then all of a sudden this. Now, losing respect for him, I don't know. It's two different guys. There's a guy I knew for 4 years, did everything right. Then here's a guy that did a dastardly thing. Bobby, you've said that Joe's statue should be taken down. Why did you say that?
Here's the thing about it. Let's say you go to a Penn State football game.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, dadgum well, they're going to flash the camera on that statue.
Yeah.
They're going to do that just to bring the subject up. And when they flash that thing, everybody in the country and everybody in the stadium are not going to think of his wins. They're going to think of the Sandusky case. And I wouldn't, if I was a university, I just wouldn't want that. And if I was Joe's family, I wouldn't want that. Now, they may feel different, and that's okay, but that's just the way I feel.
Bobby, I don't know if you want to answer this, but you had 12 wins taken away for an NCAA academic case you weren't implicated in at all. If that is the precedent, do you think Joe Paterno should have any wins taken away?
Well, I'd have to leave that up to the NCAA. I don't know what approach they're going to take on it. At first, I didn't think they'd take any because of the criminality of the thing. But they've always the thing they've always harped on is do you have institution control? And then the other thing was, are you doing anything that gives you an advantage? And as they look into that, I think that's going to decide how much they get involved.
Bobby, it's been my argument that when you cover up one of the worst scandals in college football history, maybe the worst scandal in college football history, when you cover that up, you are gaining a competitive advantage.
Well, that's possibly the way they will look at it. It's not only possible, it's probable.
Bobby, we all know the culture of college football is to try to keep things in-house and deal with them. This obviously takes that to a whole nother level. Why is that the culture of college football?
Explain that to me again. What do you mean? That to me again.
Coaches, they like to punish players internally if a player gets caught doing. But of course, this is a whole nother level. Is that the culture of college football, though, to try to keep everything in-house?
Yeah, I think they try. I think most of them do. Joe's case, you're talking about one in thousands and thousands. You're talking one in the history of college football. And I think most coaches try to keep it, not most of them, a majority of them try to do it the right way. Like in any business, you got some that are culprits. But I think coaches try to do it correctly, most of them.
Bobby, do you think college football coaches have too much power?
I think they can get too much power if the university will let them. It's just like this thing here. You got the president, the vice president, the athletic director, and then Joe Paterno. The president, he knew dadgum well that thing should be reported. But he did, like maybe a lot of people do in that situation, say, well, I'm going to let it slide and maybe it'll get by. But, gee, we're going to really get in trouble if we get caught, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And a president's got to be stronger than that. He can't have it. You know, when my situation came at Florida State, they didn't hesitate to let me go, you know. And I admire Florida State for that. I think they were pretty strong in their convictions. You remember when we had the academic scandal at Florida State? Well, NCAA didn't discover that. We discovered it. Our administration discovered it. Something's wrong. So we reported it to the NCAA, and of course they took away national championships. They took 12 games away from me. They took away other things, and but I admire our university for doing the right thing.
Bobby, you actually knew Jerry Sandusky way back when you were at West Virginia and at Florida State. What is he like, or what was he like back then?
You know, I knew him pretty well because I coached at West Virginia 10 years, and we always played Penn State. And I think he was a player when I first started coaching against him, and then he became the defensive coordinator. I ran into him at a lot of clinics. I ran into him at a lot of banquets. We were on clinics together and things. And, gosh, he's about as likable a guy as you could meet. I mean, you would never. I was as shocked over what he did as I was over what Penn State did.
Back in 1999, remember when he got out of the profession, he resigned at Penn State?
Yep.
Did you think anything back then? Like, was there any rumors or rumblings going around the coaching profession? Did you just think, hey, he wasn't going to wait for Joe Pa to retire to be a head coach?
I would have said for some reason he resigned. I would have thought, and I probably thought, you know, he's going to resign because he's not going to get the job. They're not going to name it. I've seen that happen. You know, we saw it happen at Georgia when Vince Dooley left, and the assistant head coach thought he was going to get the job, and he didn't, and so he left. And so I thought this was a case like that where he saw he wasn't going to get the head job after Joe left, and so he got upset and left. That's what I thought. Now, as far as rumor, I never heard a rumor. I never heard a suggestion that there was anything out of line on Sandusky. I think he fooled us all.
Bobby, how does Penn State recover from this?
Well, I think they can. You know how, in other words, the boys that are there now, the players that are not there, they had nothing to do with this. The new coaching staff that come in, they don't have nothing to do with this. I think Penn State needs to draw a line through yesterday. Draw a wall, just a steel wall like the Russians had there in Berlin, and move ahead, everything forward, you know. And of course they're going to have to live with this a long time because it's going to be brought up. But they're strong enough. Now they got new leadership. They're strong enough to survive this. They're too strong not to survive it, and I think they'll move ahead. But this will live with them a long time.
Bobby, last thing, if Joe Pa was still alive right now, I mean, obviously you're a friend of his. What would you say to him? Would you call him and say something to him?
You know, I didn't call him, but I wrote him. When this thing first came out, I wrote him a letter.
Mm-hmm.
And here's what I said, if you don't mind me saying.
No, I would love to hear it.
I had given a speech up in Albany, Georgia. And after the speech, a sports writer came up to me and started asking me about the Joe case that had just come out. I didn't know a lot about it. I just knew it came out and something happened. And he asked me, the reason I wrote Joe, he quoted me. Joe had made the statement, "I wish I'd have done more."
Mm-hmm.
And so when the guy asked me what I thought, I said, "Well, I guess it's like Joe said. He wishes he had done more." Well, the guy quoted him in the paper, said, "Bobby said he wished Joe had done more." Well, that kind of bothered me.
Yeah.
So I wrote Joe a letter, and I explained it to him. I said, "Joe, I was really just trying to quote what you said," and I never got a reply.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because I guess Joe knew what was happening.
Yeah, yeah. He is the great Bobby Bowden, the greatest coach in college football history, in my opinion. and the man who should be the all-time winningest coach in college football. Thank you, Bobby.
If I had enough money, I'd hire you as publicist. Hey, we'll see you, Mike.
See you, Bob.